Could I ask another question?
Please.
Your cultivation, is it for you primarily, or do you plan to sell to other people that for retail purposes?
It would be primarily to supply ourselves. We would have the option to do a wholesale contract with other retail stores, but again, the amount that we're going to produce is so little. It would really make sense just to sell it to ourselves, be vertically integrated, control our supply chain, and not sell that to other retail facilities. We still have the ability to, but the intention is to just supply ourselves.
May I ask a question? Does Blackstone really need 3 dispensaries for this marijuana, whatever it is?
Well, currently, it's an interesting question. We're not sure, to tell you the truth. The free market is going to have to eventually decide that. At the current time, I think the market could support it. We are also in the area in a somewhat fortunate situation in that we're on a border state to a state that doesn't allow recreational sales. And we know based on other locations that there are people from other states that do come in. We don't have control over it. It's actually an economic benefit to the towns on the border states.
And do you think that they're not going to start getting them? You think Rhode Island's not going to start opening them up when they see Massachusetts getting them?
Oh, they will, but there's a political process. So even if Rhode Island were to legalize, say tomorrow, they still have to write the legislature. They still have to write the law. Then each town has to decide on how they want to treat it and write their own bylaws. And then businesses will legalize tomorrow. We still have about a 2 to 3 year runway before the first business in Rhode Island would actually open up.
How long it took Massachusetts?
Exactly. Same thing.
I'd like to add into that. I actually represent Bonsai Buds in Rhode Island. They're the 11th cultivation facility to be licensed in Rhode Island. And currently, they're still looking at everyone else to become a compassion center, which is medical. In Rhode Island, in a state where they're still focused on the
Are you returning email?
it'll be quite a time, in my personal opinion, before Green Choice is worrying about getting up and running these facilities right.
No, so we're actually looking forward for tier 2, even though we won't be.
I can't hear a damn thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Charles, you were a little hard to hear, but I think you were trying
I'm
to.
sorry,
Rhode Island is focusing on the medical market, and that's
Yes.
what the most emphasis behind. So the medical market is strong. They have no intention to change it right now, truthfully, because there's a lot of lobbying on behalf of the medical market to keep things status quo. Anything else?
I'd ask a question, please. My name is Brian. I was concerned over the security. So when you guys say a third-party security company, and I know it's going to be within, the regulations, but do you mean, a security company that kind of sits in a car and just calls the police when they see something, or these actual security?
No,
others?
it's a great question.
we actually,
we are
we have
required.
Who's answering?
We have actually one of the best securities in the industry. They're actually available tonight to answer any questions.
Why don't we let them introduce themselves?
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo on your guys, and I can just address this very, very quickly. So we're actually, because of the state law, required 2 monitoring companies. So there's going to be a physical presence of somebody in an actual security room watching the cameras. But then when the building isn't occupied, we have an AI-driven monitoring system that's able to look at all the cameras, detect, is this a human approaching the building? Is it an animal running by? Is it a car? And so we're required to have redundancy built into the system. So if that one alarm system goes down, there's another one that is there as backup. In addition to that, there's power requirements. So in case the power goes out, we do have to have an on-site generator that kicks on instantaneously. So there can never be a time where the feed is down, and it's constantly being monitored.
Okay, what you ask?
I have a question, Tony. Cultivation is, in my understanding, farming. And from what I understand, this village overlay district that you'd be involved in is pretty much commercial and residential. I can understand the retail store, but the actual farming of marijuana through cultivation, is that going to be allowed? Are you going to have to apply for a zoning variance to do that?
No, so it all depends. It all depends on the town's bylaws. So
I have the exact answer on that. So currently,
Go
the
ahead.
town attempted to pass
I
five.
can hear you.
Can I use your microphone? Can you hear me now?
Lot of back, no, lot of back static.
What about now?
Can't hear you at all.
I muted you.
You muted.
Okay.
Now I lost everything.
Let me see it again.
You have to put them both in, that on your, no, other ear. That one goes-
I'm just going to have everybody besides
You're not
Charles
here,
put themselves on mute.
You have to use this one.
Can everyone hear me? No?
We can now,
Can
yes.
everyone hear me?
Yep.
No, I'm not.
Why don't you just speak without the ear, just.
Can you? Oh, yeah.
I apologize for the technical difficulty. I have poor microphone. So the exact answer is around the time we were getting the lead, the town attempted to pass bylaws, which is speaking of the current zoning. Unfortunately, the town had a notice issue, and the bylaws were actually rejected by the Attorney General's office. So there's actually currently a state of limbo on the bylaws in the town. However, we have addressed this with the town, and once the bylaws are fixed, we would be out of zone for the cultivation. However, that would require us to seek the variance if that were so. At this point in time, there's a legal situation where we believe the bylaws wouldn't be enforceable. However, that's something that we would address with the town, and we would take whatever procedure the town told us to include seeking a variance. So we have actually hired a specialist for zoning, Attorney Gregory Galvin, who unfortunately could not be here to give you a much more brilliant explanation of the current standing. But that's where we're at right now. However, we expect that the town will give us the variance, given that we intend to cultivate a tier 1, which is less than 5,000 square feet. Sorry, a tier 2, which is less than 10,000 square feet. That doesn't mean we'll cultivate the entire 10,000 square feet, but it'll allow us to cultivate a little more than 5,000. And that's a relatively small growth. This facility is immensely bigger than that amount of space.
So we expect to get
the variance.
That's an issue that we're gonna have to work
And that's an issue that we're gonna have to work with the town on. We have not signed a agreement with the town yet. We intend to work with the town on that issue. We actually need to catch up with the Attorney General's office and see where they're at with that. The last state was that there was a notice issue with these bylaws, but if they were put into effect and enforceable, we would have to seek a variance at this time. Mr. Moderator?
Okay. I hope that answered the question. Anything else?
Yes, I have a question. I haven't heard it addressed. You talked about the traffic flow and you would try to keep it away from the library. How will you be handling it with roads that are already a major cut through, like Dispensary?
So I guess the overarching answer to this is, and it's kind of been addressed in different points of the conversation here, but one, as more dispensaries come online, the traffic to each one of these dispensaries is going to become less and less of a concern. I was mentioning before, it's actually to the point now where there's a number of different dispensaries opening up now that are actually having to fight to get customers in the door. Number two, we plan on having security in the parking lot, similar to other dispensaries that have opened up in the state, to help manage traffic flow and to keep things moving. If it ever got to the point where traffic on the streets around the facility were being impacted, we would have to call in the police simply to help manage traffic. That's a great problem to have. It helps both us, you know, and the police are getting paid overtime. Everybody seems to like it. So
But
that's
you have to understand, if you live within that close to the facility, it's not a great problem to have. And if you're saying traffic slows down, sales slow down because there are so many dispensaries, then there's not that much of an advantage to Blackstone if you're giving us 3% of your sales, but your sales are continually dropping.
Well, it's to suggest not that the sales are continually dropping, but there's a steady flow of customers. There isn't the great surge at the very beginning like most townsfolk in other towns that I've worked with have thought. So when we first started opening up dispensaries, everybody saw the news reports about Netta in Northampton, the very first dispensary to open up, and the traffic concerns that came along with that, because everybody in the state was traveling to Northampton. It's simply not the case anymore. We've been able to manage the traffic flow of these businesses similar to any other business. So we've done that, especially in COVID times, through an online ordering system and simply public data where we can see what days of the week people are typically purchasing their product. We can see when they're typically purchasing it. And we can manage our staff accordingly.
I'd like to ask a question if I could.
Please.
A little while ago, you guys had mentioned that you had a discussion with the landlord of the apartment building over on Austin Street, correct? Am I in the right spot
No.
as far as the traffic? I'm just.
No, we're talking about some of the workers that have been using the 114 Main Street parking lot to park.
Okay, I thought you were mentioning the apartment building across the street and the traffic.
No, if that was what was being spoken about, it was a confusion.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions that we have? I think we've actually gone through a number of great questions.
I actually have one question, and I apologize if this is already asked. But will there be a clearer parking plan that will be shared with the community?
Absolutely.
Sometime soon. Okay, perfect. Because we live across the street, and we didn't get a letter about this Zoom meeting since we moved. I think probably when it was sent out.
I sent out the abutters letters.
We do plan on and benefiting the community like tremendously. So we're not coming in here trying to be the Walmart of marijuana.
No.
We're looking for more of like a mom and pop family style boutique of high quality cannabis.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to email me? Because I put out letters to the abutters.
Yeah.
My email is Charles, CHARLES, .reid, REID, at progressivelaw.LLC.com.
Okay.
If you could just, I'd like to ask you a few questions about that, please.
Of course.
Could you please repeat that email, sir? Could you
Charles,
please
your
repeat
email?
that email, sir?
Yes, it's Charles.reid, REID, at progressivelaw.LLC.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Please, it's also in the chat. Feel free to hit me up anytime with any questions. And it is also in the chat.
Yep. And again, this whole video has been recorded. If you want a copy of this video, please email Charles and we can send that out as soon as we wrap up here.
Hi, Brian, I actually have one other question. I uploaded a screenshot of the Main Street, 199 Main Street. And it has a sign that says cannabis dispensary. Can you tell me what's going on with that?
To my knowledge, that business is not associated with this at all. So I'm really not familiar with that business.
Okay, because I mean, I live right near here, and yeah, and it just seems like there's some kind of connection there. I think I even seen Mike, the owner, over there. So I'm confused with it.
No, there's no connection.
Yeah, absolutely not. And if so, we would hope to, maybe even help them wholesale wise in the future. So.
But there was also some other business owners trying to negotiate on this property beforehand. Maybe that's what you're referring to, but there is no association with any other business in the town of Blackstone with Green Choice Dispensaries LLC.
Yeah, were you able to see the picture that I put in there?
Yes, with the red truck.
It actually has cannabis dispensary sign right on,
So
like they're going to be putting it up there.
Does anyone know who's in charge of that store?
I could look into
Honestly,
it.
I'm sorry.
They're in the town of Blackstone.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 199 Main Street.
I can look into that. To my knowledge, if they were doing anything, they would be registered with the CCC.
Open it up.
So we can look that up. But to my
He's
knowledge,
He's already been approved with a CCC license. He's working on the interior right now. He originally was included with the Family Grocer across the street. I don't know if he's still a partner in it, but that facility is planning on opening very soon, as is Lloyd Street, which is Blackstone, not Bellingham. It has been for a long time. And I think 3 in this town is way too much. Way too much.
One is too much, never mind
Yeah,
3.
there's going to be 3.
I understand
in
one, the second
Blackstone?
one snuck in. The second one snuck in, there wasn't enough. They're closer
How
to
many
the
liquor stores
Boys
are in
and
town?
Girls Club, and they're closer to the church than you guys are. I think
How
yours.
many liquor stores are in town?
Well, can I just chime in a little bit real quick? First of all, we would be cultivators. So if anything, we would benefit these other retailers. We're not looking to out anybody. We're all working to build this community and work together here, unlike a lot of people nowadays. And I'd just like to bring to your attention too, which is straight poison, but just on this road alone, but in Blackstone, I can count, I think 3 liquor stores within a 3-mile range.
I understand
So
that.
if anything,
Trust
okay.
me.
So and marijuana does serve a extreme
Yeah,
amount
two go
of medicinal purposes, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think
sure.
that they definitely don't go together. I don't drink actually, and I don't believe in alcohol, and they
All right.
name one purpose
Well
that
said.
alcohol serves. That's all I'm saying.
Hi, my name is Joe Moran. We have 2 liquor stores, which the state allows us for our population. The other stores sell beer and wine, but they don't sell liquor. The state only allows us to have 2. Just to clear that up. We don't have 3.
Yeah, but there are plenty of beer and wine stores,
That's what I said. The other ones sell beer and wine.
which is.
Right, which is alcohol, exactly.
They're not liquor stores, like you said, liquor stores.
Well,
Well, I apologize.
alcohol stores.
Alcohol
I mean,
stores.
alcohol is a substance that kills a lot of people every year.
And
Cannabis
yeah.
has never killed anybody.
And I don't have a problem with alcohol or people that use alcohol. I'm just saying in general, I mean, if that was an issue on the amount of retail stores, it would draw more of a concern to me that alcohol was so accessible versus marijuana, considering marijuana serves plenty of medicinal purposes. And I don't know one that alcohol serves. So
What
A good disinfectant.
What I'm curious about is the traffic still. Once the parking lot is filled up and the security gates close and you guys start pushing away cars and people just start to park on the street, Are you gonna pick up the tab to have a detail there to keep pushing traffic along?
Oh, absolutely. Like I had mentioned earlier, we have
So
one
how
of the
do
best
we
security
stop
teams
the
in the business.
traffic from keep coming because there's not enough room in your parking lot and
Well,
not enough room
the
for
idea would be, the idea would be to keep the flow going gradually.
So we have
with
one
online
light.
ordering.
Are you gonna be setting up a reservation system whereby they can reserve a time frame to come in and pick it up to help alleviate the traffic potential problem?
Absolutely. So interesting, in our COVID-19 times, that's actually required for all recreational sales right now.
I thought it was a given that they wanted it to be imposed on most times to alleviate the traffic, as you mentioned in Northampton, which set the precedent.
Yeah, so because of COVID-19, every retail establishment right now is requiring people to order online prior to getting to the store, practice social distancing, and just simply pick up and pay for their order when they get there. So it's allowing for also traffic management as well.
And I believe delivery is
know,
also
there-
going to be an option soon, which will
You know,
stop.
there are two facilities opening up in Millville also at this time.
Correct. And so that's what we wanted to point out regarding traffic, and how when we first started opening up dispensaries in Massachusetts, there was a lot of concern around traffic. Now that we're over 2 years into the program and there's 73 dispensaries open up throughout the state, we're seeing what a mature market looks like in Massachusetts. And we simply see that the traffic concerns and having an onslaught, a rush, if you will, has been mitigated through using software and data. So we have a much better understanding of what the traffic flow of each facility looks like now versus even just a year and a half ago. We've been able to use that data to allow for pretty seamless.
So I want to disagree with that, because 2 weeks ago, I was at a dispensary and they have 2 parking lots that filled up 40 cars in each lot, and they had cars parking on the street waiting to get in there, and they had to hire detail to get them out of there. This was just 2 weeks ago. So that rush is still happening, and traffic is still a major concern, especially on Main Street with one light. We used to have massive traffic just from guys collecting donations at that one light. Traffic would be backed up all the way up Federal Street, all the way up Blackstone Street. It would take 40 minutes just to get to the grocery store and back. What can we get that this isn't going to happen again?
You know, what we can tell you is we are going to be working very closely with the town. We've already had many conversations with the police chief. We're fully aware of the other businesses that are in town and how soon they're opening up to us. We expect that the other businesses in town will be open before this location. So it's actually going to be to our detriment. And when we get open, you have to imagine, if we start this process now, this building won't be open for at least another year and a half. So at that point, all these other locations will already be open, and we're going to have a much better understanding of traffic flow then. Not to mention, these establishments that are already opening before us are going to have the opportunity for customer retention before us. So because we're opening up later than everybody else, we're going to have to fight a little bit more to get customers in our door.
So that brings up to the question of how you're going to make whatever it is going to cost you for the taxes or that 3% fee if you're going to be battling for customers. Kind of
With
reminds
the
me of
cultivation.
when McDonald's opened up originally, they flooded the market, as is Dunkin' Donuts, and very readily you see a backup in traffic and you see a line, and then eventually people just say, hey, I'll go somewhere else. So it impacts your sales.
Exactly. You know, this is one of those businesses where we have to let the free market decide how the business, operates, whether it's successful or it's not.
Everybody eats McDonald's, but not everybody uses marijuana.
I want to point out, this is an incredible risk to the owners of this company. You know, this is a new industry. We're navigating new waters. They're putting up incredible amount of financial benefit to these buildings. They're harboring a lot of weight on their shoulders to bring this to the town. So we understand that, you know, there is potentially an opportunity for this business to become successful, but it's not guaranteed, and there is a lot of risk.
A
that comes
person put up a question, a chat, that mentioned why you didn't initially try to find a piece of land, build your own complex where you could control all this and not have a problem.
Double the funds,
Yeah.
What's that?
double the funds. That's the first problem.
Well, according to some of the numbers that were put down there,
Can I
eventually.
just
it
mention
worked
also,
out.
not to get into personal business, but we chose Blackstone simply because my mother was born and raised here.
Yeah,
I
I know,
also have
I
plenty
know.
of,
I met you
I have
with
plenty
the
of
original.
family.
I met
Yeah,
you
and I
with
have
the
plenty of
original.
family in the surrounding community,
Yeah.
Woonsocket and Blackstone. So we're just not some guys moving in
fine.
from out of state here. We got a lot of family roots in this area, along with the surrounding area.
So I'm still concerned with the traffic and the library, since the facility is under 500 feet from the library. Our kids go to this library for programs all the time, and they're going to constantly
we
go
plan
by your business on a regular basis.
I know we plan on
Yeah,
helping children. I mean,
the state requires us
So
to be a certain distance away from schools and places where children congregate. We've met all of those zoning rules.
Well, actually, you haven't, but you met the town's rules, but you didn't meet the state rules. But I understand how it works. But you're still
Right. I'm
under
also-
500 feet from the library. You're for 487 feet from the library. So you're not quite 500 feet away from the library. And the kids still just walk by the back way, the back side of Austin. They walk to the library to go to activities and so forth. So they'll be walking by your facility on a regular basis.
Sir, how would that impact the child to walk by the facility when they walk by every liquor store, the two of them, and beer and wine places? They go into to buy soda.
I understand they say they're going to mitigate the smell, but every time you go near a facility that grows, the smell does get out, and you smell it.
Understood, but that's because they're not doing their job.
Airtight,
Yeah.
and they're gonna put the smoke bomb in there, but in time, or when you're loading the trucks and you open the doors, the smell comes out, and it comes out and it smells for a half mile. I mean, we go by facilities all the time, and you can smell it for up to 0.6 miles.
I would suggest that there's probably a number of facilities you've driven past and you had no idea there was a cultivation facility.
Absolutely. And I'd also like to mention, I'm a proud father of 4 girls too. So I have 4 children myself. I would never put anybody's children in harm's way. If anything, like I mentioned several times to this meeting, we will have the best security team